Welcome back, YouTube. So in this video, we're going to talk about the approaching buy zones that we are literally very close to for the pretty much the top four cryptos that we cover here. I'm going to start with Bitcoin because this is obviously the market indicator, and we have filled the gap down, and we are pretty much hanging on to this previous support area, which is not very strong. Um, Depending on what Powell says over the next week or so, I can determine how far or how much panic is in the market. But overall, we're looking at a retest here of this 20,761. Now we can have, because we've been on a downtrend, we can have a short-term rally or like a relief rally, but that's not going to be indicative that we're in a reversal or we're going to consolidate higher. So it's very likely that we can consolidate around this $20,000 mark. So just kind of keep that in mind while you are preparing or going over your potential entries and stuff like that over the next few weeks. So, if we see the rally, it's not, I don't think it's just the end all be all. Just kind of keep in mind that could be very short term here. Let's take a, well, let's say, yeah, because 20,000, this is, for the most part, this is held up. Depending on obviously how long we stay down there, or if we break down and there's like a lag in volume, then of course, then we could entertain like the 18 or like 16 level, but that's getting ahead of ourselves here. Just remember the final numbers on the macro is around like $10,000, but we'll need a series of things to happen before we consolidate down there. So this will just be on the short-term time frame. It is looking like we're going to test that 20,000 mark again, but we may have a rally just before then, and that rally is indicative for all the coins here. But again, that's this could be a short term, in the short term here, and it's not saying that this is going to be a consolidation or reversal from this period where we are right now. Let's see. Let's look at Cardano. Cardano here. This is the one that I was concerned about where we are right now. This 32 mark, if you've been following the channel, 32 is very, very important for us. It's almost in a similar situation like with Ethereum, which we're going to get to in a moment. But this is very concerning here because breaking this candle here with strength is that can send us well down into the 20s here, 26 range. So for me, that is certainly something that I'm going to look into buying. More importantly, probably anything below 30, I'll be interested, but certainly the lower the better. But we have pretty much broken below that. We just have to see if this is going to be, we're going to have strength or not down here, but we can certainly see a gap down from here in ADA and down into the 20s with a low maybe around like 24, maybe a little bit below a quarter. So that's something that we're trying to keep an eye on here, and it's looking like that has happened. We'll see if there's any new liquidity resting a little higher, but overall, we should see some liquidity around like the mid 20 range based off of history. Let's take a look here at Ethereum next because it was in a very similar situation. I'm not quite there yet on Ethereum. We need around like 14.95, just below 1,500 bucks, so maybe about another 40 bucks, and then we're going to be in a very similar situation with Ethereum here, where we can potentially go down to around like 1340, and then anything below that, we're looking at 1,200. Ultimately, with the low of around like 1,100, if that holds up. We've had a couple of rejections there the last time, but that 1,000 to 1,100 will be great projectors. But again, it's something that this is. The fall will be similar to Cardano, but we have a few steps to get to those lower levels, similar to what I was saying with Bitcoin and going to like 18 or 16. There's a few things that have to kind of happen. So that's more of on a longer term time frame, but on a short term time frame, this is going to be something to look forward to. Like the next 40 bucks here for Ethereum, and then you can see that drop to around a 13 mid range. So that's just something to keep an eye on in the short term. So macro it could be in bigger trouble. But obviously we'll just have to kind of see what kind of numbers and stuff that we're going to get from the feds and stuff like that over the next couple of weeks before we start factoring those in. So we're not just running numbers that may not be relevant right now. Then, of course, let's take a look here at Doge, as we are pretty much at the support level. We got a green candle here. We have had some overshoot once before. The 677 was the lowest it's been since Elon purchased Twitter. So this level here, if we break below that level, that'll be pretty much us retesting. It's possible to have some overshoot, but so far this 712 mark has held up for the most part since Elon purchased Twitter. That's this huge spike that you see here back in October. So it'll be like if we break down below that without a rejection, that'll be the first time we've had to go that low to grab additional liquidity. But again, we'll see how things play out here on the short term. But anything below that, for the most part, we consolidated prior to the news of Elon purchasing Twitter at around the 6 range. But again, this has held up since then. We had a slight overshoot back in December, late December. So we'll see how this plays out here in the short term, but it does look like there's a green candle forming, and we've consolidated around here quite a bit before. So we'll see where this plays out again, because again, on the short-term time frame, this can rally here or go sideways. But overall, we know based off of history here, there's a great deal of liquidity between that 6 and 7 cent mark. So if we don't get the bounce here, more than likely you'll see a descend into like this mid-range, and there's typically enough liquidity there to either rally Doge or have it going sideways based off of history, because this is kind of like where we consolidated at initially prior to any of the positive news or any of the hopium around the purchase initially. So that's just something we're going to have to keep an eye on. Short term, we're looking at roughly around this 7 range, hopefully a sideways consolidation. If not, we'll have that break lower. So this is what we're looking at overall, is just kind of like the run for liquidity across the markets. We'll see where this goes, because we know that the market is kind of driven by either greed or fear. And when we have like this period of confusion, of uncertainty, you'll have kind of like a stagnation kind of come in, and without volume or without upward momentum, you'll see that grab for liquidity. So it can just be not necessarily a panic drop, but you'll see it just kind of consolidate to wherever that liquidity is, so that the price can kind of stabilize a bit more. Because normally, if there is news leading up to whatever caused the fear, you'll see an upward trajectory, or just it'll get really choppy. But once that uncertainty comes in, the volume slows down, and then you'll see prices kind of decline until whatever that lower level of liquidity is. And I think that's what we're seeing here across the markets, which is that consolidation until you get some confirmation, or until you get some more greed, enthusiasm, hopium, whatever you want to call it, into the markets. And you'll see that upward trend, and that's when you'll kind of start seeing some more green days here. I think Powell I'm going to create a separate video going over Powell's recent comments, but I think he kind of sent the market not the market, but investors on a whirlwind here, just because of his aggressive tone and turn and choice of words. So I'll cover that in a separate video, but I think that's kind of where the volume is kind of slacking off, and we're going to look for that pool of liquidity here at some lower levels. So not a big difference overall, but I just kind of think that the hopium we had of like a pivot is probably being pushed out another quarter or so, seeing that at least if we don't over tighten in the meantime. But I just kind of think that those expectations are kind of delayed, so people are kind of waiting to see if they're going to have a better opportunity to get better entries if they kind of like engage in patience. So overall, that is my price update for crypto. Let me know your thoughts, comments, concerns. If you liked anything in the video, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend. and I will see you in the next one.
Try it.